Transition, wasn't it, brother?
That
It was good. Here we are, Monday Mayhem. What's the topic? Not sure. We'll pick it in just a second. Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly. Well, all right,
Oh,
DJ.
right there.
Our good friend Matthew McConaughey. So, hey, listen, because it's Family Day in Ontario, I think all the other provinces have some sort of holiday. It's President's Day in the U.S.
Yeah,
We're not sure how many of y'all are going to join us live, but this is recorded in both the all your podcast streaming. So we're going to deliver today, nonetheless, DJ. It's Monday Mayhem. It's time to pick the topic. So here we go. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Right there. I like
right there. Okay.
Dead smack metal. And we'll start this with a president's quote, JFK.
Okay, so hold on just a sec. We already did this one on the 31st of January, so we're going to have to pull that aside, and we're going to have to do it again. But say your JFK quote.
JFK quote, every accomplishment starts with the decision to try. And we're going to try to...
Love that. Love that. And I would even say add to that. Don't try, just do.
Just do. I like it. Yeah.
Just say, I'm not going to try. I'm going to do it. So if I can figure out. Good morning, John. Mr. John Wilson. How are you this morning, brother? All right. So ready?
Let's see it. Start right there. I want to get the front now.
Okay. Oh, okay. Good. Okay. So reference letters. Here we go. Reference letters. This is a good one. So here's a little sales strategy on how to get reference letters for today's topic. I love that. I actually really, really, really love this topic because, see, so my question, DJ, to you is, who sells better than any salesperson on the planet?
Your referral.
100%. Yeah, your customer. Your customer. Your customer will always sell you better than you will sell yourself.
Always sell to your referrals. Oh, God.
100%. You think about a movie. Right? You're thinking, yeah, I might go see that movie. Then you have a buddy come up to you that you trust and you, oh my God, that movie was like, oh, it was so awesome. And then there was a scene in it and I don't want to give it away, but it was so awesome. You're like, oh dude, I'm going to see that movie. So the last time there was a movie like that for me was when Ted came out, the movie Ted.
Oh my goodness.
So I went to go see the movie Ted with a buddy of mine. And over the next 4 days, I went back 4 times.
Are we Thunder Buddies? No,
yeah. But I went back and see the movie 4 times in the next 4 days. That's how much I love that movie. And we're talking, the $50 price tag that comes with a movie theater, not have it on DVD and watch it. And I had told hundreds of people about that movie because that to me, that movie, when you first see that movie, like it was the first of its kind.
It's unbelievable.
It is so funny. It's like as I'm saying it, I'm thinking of all the scenes in my head where it's like he sticks the lobster head. Is that his shit?
What am I guessing the woman's name? No, that's funny.
Yeah. When he was like, it's kind of like Trailer Park, but Boston, and it was a very, very good movie. But it's that piece, right? Where when we get reference letters from a customer, it's the peers of our customers, even if they don't know them. It's the peers, right? It's okay. This person is going through what I am going through, and they say DJ can accomplish this. So that's important. And it's morning, Jeff. It's interesting because over the years that I've been soliciting for probably the first, I'm going to say probably close to 17 years of my career, I never once thought to get a reference letter, DJ. Never once.
I was the same.
Yeah, just never even thought of it. It was like, you have this amazing, especially if you do project work. It's like at the end of every project, you get a reference letter because those reference letters allow you to get better projects and the next projects down the line. And then one day, I found the power of reference letters. And then from that point on, it was a customer of mine that just sent me one. He said, like, listen, your project, the way you did this project was awesome. And I'm reading it and I'm like, holy crap, I'm pretty good. and not in an egotistical way. It was just like when you've been in it and you're kind of going through your daily routine. And I know probably a lot of you, it's like you wake up in the morning and you don't necessarily put conscious thought to like how well you're doing for a customer. It's like, this is what I do. This is what I want to deliver. This is how I want to deliver it. And I want to make sure my customer's happy. But there's no conscious thought to like, oh man, I friggin' rocked that load. It was like, or, rocked that project. It was like, this is just what I'm hired to do. This is my
That's what
job.
I'm
This is my
supposed to do.
career. But when somebody puts it in writing and gives it to you, it's like this, oh my gosh, like there's something to it. And I remember using it with the next client that had a similar project. I said, yeah, I don't know if it's of any interest, but this is a letter from another customer that we did a similar project. The guy,
Mhm.
I emailed the guy,
Yep.
he read the letter. I think in like 7 minutes, I got an email back saying, done, we're in. And I was like, hold on, there's something to this. Like there's an actual
Oh
thing
yeah.
that we can do here. And so what I did is I started really digging into like, how do I get a reference letter? Because a lot of salespeople are nervous to ask for reference letters, right? So what I did is I came up with 3 questions, and then I know we've talked about these 3 questions a lot of times. It's, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And what can I improve on?
Yep.
And so these 3 questions became my customer retainment questions. They became my investigative questions. They started to appear in so many facets of my sales sequencing and in my sales process. And
Yeah.
what I found was, when we ask those and like, what are we doing right? Oh my God, you guys are awesome. What are we doing wrong? Oh, like you guys are doing nothing wrong. What can we improve on? I'll talk to my team, but I don't think there's really anything. Okay. Would you mind giving me a reference letter? And it's like, you go through 3 times where it's like, no, you're awesome. No, you're awesome. No, you're awesome. The fourth is a very easy yes. Right. And then
Yep.
what I started adopting, and I don't know if you did this, started this, or you did it later on, is originally I would ask the customer to write it. And then I started saying, okay, I'll write it and you just have to sign it. So kind of taking away all the friction from them, or all the time from them, because it was actually Donald Miller's book, when I read it. And it was a story about storytelling. And he says one thing, he says, you can't have your customers burn calories. And when you think about that for a second, he says, like, every
Mm,
time you make your customers really think, you make them burn
yeah.
calories. And if
Exactly.
there's you that makes them think and somebody else that makes them not think, he goes, believe it or not, they're going to go with that person. Now, he was talking more of a digital perspective in story brand, but you can relate it back to just anything. Like, think of
Definitely.
us, right? Like, you think, on the weekend, it's like, I start reading an article. And a lot of times, if the article is too long, I'm like, nah, it's way too long. And I forget,
Yeah.
I'll read another article.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, if somebody says to me, hey, you got to read this article because it's da 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 da, then I'll read the article. And,
When you're
like
reading it.
it's that perspective shift where all of a sudden you're not burning brain cells because it's for a purpose. But if you're
Yep.
just reading it to read it, I mean, I don't know if you caught on the weekend. So an Ace Carrier caught on fire, right? So there was 4,000 Porsche, Bentley,
Oh yes, I seen that.
Volkswagen IDs, electric
Oh,
vehicles and stuff headed for the US, 4,000 vehicles. And this ship is on fire in the middle of the ocean, okay? And I
crazy.
mean, the picture that I saw in Auto Plus, or like an automobile magazine, it wasn't even a
Yeah,
shipping
yeah,
magazine, it was an automobile magazine. Like there's black char up the sides of all these containers because there's literally cars, which is crazy to think that these things are inside a steel box and it
right.
catches the next steel box and the next steel. I guess it would go down. I guess maybe melt the steel. Um,
Yeah,
but you look at those, right, and it's like, oh my god. So immediately, that article was pretty long, but not for a second did I burn a single calorie thinking it was long, because it was like, holy
yeah. You were in it. You
shit,
were
we
in
got,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Jeff brings up a great point there. Yeah, references are like recommendations on LinkedIn by past bosses, clients, associates, etc. Yeah,
actually, that's a great point. Yeah,
yeah. No, and to your point, Dan, I think if you go that way, and so well, I'll touch base. So never asked for reference letters in this, but big things were reference letters and home improvements. And so we would, as
yes,
the project was getting done or as it was finishing, we'd go visit. And now they're all excited, they're jazzed up, they're happy, and they know all of the process. But again, I think with you with your the questions and then getting to that, what am I doing right? I think then we especially if they have nothing bad or nothing we could work on. That's a great, the right
Mhm.
opportunity to ask. But you know, after, especially after they tell you everything they're doing right, you're doing right, then it's easy for them to just write it down. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it
Well,
completely.
and
But
it's
yeah,
easier.
a
It's also
handwritten
easier. It's also
handwritten one
easier
was
for
nice.
well, and that, but that's what I'm saying is, so what I would do is my reference letters were very specific. So, like,
Okay.
say for example,
Yeah,
you and I started working with you, and one of your problems was communication. Hypothetically, the reference letter would be specific to communication.
I love
You know,
it. Yeah,
when I first brought Dan in, communication was poor to say the least, and then we went A, B, C, and D, and I would always give three. I'd give no more than three kind of bullet points on it, and I'd
yeah,
say A, B, C, and D, and now the communication is spectacular, and I'd keep that as a communication one. And then another customer would be
absolutely.
um, organization or general supply chain. Another customer would be project work. Another customer would be, so project work, for example, like if we were part of we did a bunch of big solar farms.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
in solar farms, the panels are the most important part because they don't want the panels on site because like one wrong move, a rock flies off an excavator or something, like there's anything and they can damage them. But when
yeah,
they're
yeah,
ready for solar panels, it's like they have a crew and they go because all the bases are built and everything. So it's imperative trucks arrive in order and in the order because they're actually put on trucks in the order of the panels of the way they go.
yeah, definitely.
So again, there's zero thinking on the part of the installers. It's okay. The next one that comes off is
Yeah,
the next
next
one
truck,
that goes
next
on.
truck.
And I remember working with a Magna company that did solar and they were like, "You guys were awesome. Like all of these trucks arrived on time." And the guy started saying, like, the trucks arrived on time, and it created a process for our people. And I'm like frantically writing this down because the next question when we hung up from that conference call was I called him back and I said, "Hey, can you give us a reference letter for the project?" He goes, "Absolutely. Like you guys were awesome." So I literally wrote down word for word what he said on the four
Perfect.
main things that we
Yeah, yeah,
accomplished. That got us like 7 more solar projects, just that one reference letter. So when we got the second one, then I had 2 for the third guy, then I had 3 for the fourth guy, then I had 4, and it almost comes to a point where it's like people would be crazy not to use you because
yeah.
it's like, it's like you said with home renovations, now those home renovation guys have gone to Google reviews
Yep,
because the Google reviews that get done actually
exactly.
rank them higher, or people look at Google reviews and say, "Oh
Yep,
wow."
the more
Like
reviews,
now it's
yeah.
all about the reviews, right? And I actually know a lot of trucking company and brokerages that are asking their customers for Google reviews. Now,
Yeah,
the only difference I find is if you're salespeople reaching out, I believe personally, still to this point, a Google review is good, but when a customer says Dan and his team, DJ and his team, that means
yes.
more than a Google review for your company.
Yeah.
Especially if you're multi-$100 million company or $1 billion corporation, right?
Oh,
But
yeah, especially if you have it separate too. But yeah, hey, good
yeah,
morning, Flatbed Queen,
Jessica.
Jessica, and good
Yes,
morning,
and
Dan.
Dan. Good morning. We're talking about reference letters today.
Oh, yeah,
So then you use the answers of your 3 questions. What are we doing right? What are we
yes.
doing wrong? What can we improve on? And you use that as the nucleus
To
of the
hone it.
reference letter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I've always found I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, DJ, or your process on it. But I've always found the more specific the reference letter, the better it is. And at one point in my career, I had probably close to 30 reference letters. And here's the thing is one customer might have given me 3, 4 reference letters. Like I never just left it at one per customer because I was specific. I would also say to customers, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What can we improve on? We'd get those answers. So there's a couple of parts to this. When you ask, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What can we improve on? It
Yep.
gives you an opportunity to be creative if you have to fix something.
Yeah.
But then when you fix that something, that becomes a reference letter of its own. So what are we doing right? Oh, you guys are awesome. What are we doing wrong? Nothing really much. What can we improve on? You know what? My team did come to me and say, you guys can improve on communication. So what do? You get creative. You put a new communication strategy or you enhance the communication strategy. You wait 2 weeks,
Then you
call a
got to
customer
come
back. They're
back.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God, the communication's awesome. That's a reference letter. The reference letter was everything was okay. It was
Yeah.
great. There was nothing to complain about. But when one employee said, hey, communication needs to be improved, DJ and his team went to work, and within 2 weeks, we had the best communication ever. That's a reference letter. And
Yeah.
then that same customer, you do a project and you go in, oh my God, the project it went seamlessly. Like it was just like A, B, C, and D. And I went home at night without stressing because I knew that they had it. There's another reference letter. And so
Yeah.
as you're on these sales calls and the customer says, oh, communication is my number one thing. Oh, really? Okay. Let me just share this with you. What's your email address? And you send them the 3 reference letters of customers going, communication was here. I
Yeah.
asked for this. Communication was now here. And it was like, oh my God, it was mind blowing. Guys were awesome. Like, how can you get any better when you're talking about
You can.
specifics in the sales conversation, right?
Oh, yeah, it's like shooting fish in a barrel at that point. It's yeah.
It's like going fishing in a stocked pond.
Yeah.
Or literally
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah,
And it is
you
because
just
it's
pull them
direct to
out.
their issue,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think as salespeople, we neglect all the really good stuff we do for customers. Because it's just, and especially, a lot of the salespeople watching and listening to this show, us, a lot of salespeople we know, because we have such high standards for ourselves just in our day to day work. Like, and you know what I mean? Like, it's like, no,
Oh, yeah.
this is the level of service I want to give my customer, not realizing the majority of salespeople are so far below that level of service. It's like, how much money am I going to make? Okay, and how little do I need to spend with the customer? And that's unfortunately, like, you and I both know it. That's most of
It's
our
like,
industry.
yeah.
The elite, for me, anyways, and I know for you, it was like for years I never put any thought into like
Mm,
what is the value I add, and what have I done for customer A, B, C, and D, and then I started listing them out. And then I started calling because obviously when you realize the power of reference letters, you want to get as many as possible right away.
of course.
And so I started writing templates and then just changing specifics in the templates. Um, I always kept it my personal opinion. And again, some people might want to put the company name and your team. I never added a company name like the company I was working for in my reference letter. I
Yeah.
just put Dan and his team,
Yeah.
or after a conversation with Dan, his team went to work because I
That's a
wanted to
great
give my
point.
team credit.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a great point. So it kind of goes with you.
Yeah, yeah. Even Jeff says even better references. Client says have them call me directly. I'll be more than happy to give them a reference. Doesn't get any better than that. Absolutely. And you know what? Even when they say that, I put it in writing and I put the customer's name at the bottom. So I put that statement. Definitely give him a call. He said you can give him a call. Yeah,
Yeah.
affirmation for both parties, 100%. And it's so powerful. But if we
Yeah.
think about it, right? So DJ, you think about it. How many really awesome things, and I know it's probably a weird word to say, but awesome things have you done for a customer?
Oh,
How many
yeah.
times have you bailed customers out? How
Yeah.
many times have you done projects that went off? I mean, listen, we've all had projects that have gone to
Oh,
shit. Don't get
yeah.
me wrong. But how many times have you had things like bailed your
Do it
customer out of a
perfectly.
jam?
Yeah.
Had like 90% of customers we get is because somebody else bailed on them and they call us and say, you've been soliciting me for 6 months. Now it's
Yeah.
time to
Yeah.
step
Give me
up.
a shot. Yeah.
But all of those are reference letters.
Yeah.
So think about it like this.
Absolutely.
Today, we sit in
There's a
an
lot of
industry.
opportunities missed, but I think
100%.
I think you're on the money with asking the questions. But and guys, with this, obviously and we talked about this before, but the importance of asking those questions is not only for the reference letter, but to really just you might think you're doing a great job, but you don't know what the other person thinks until you ask. So you have to
And a lot of the
you gotta
times
ask.
they don't bring it up.
Yeah,
Like in a lot,
they
it's
just
like
fire
most
you
things in
without
life,
saying
right? Like,
anything.
yeah, I mean, how many times have something gone wrong in a restaurant? Like, it's not worth bringing up. But if that, and you just kind of pack it down, then you go back to that restaurant and something else happens. And after you go back the fifth time, and it's not the same thing, it's just little things after. It's like,
No
that's the same
thanks.
thing. For the last 5 times, this shit is done, da, 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 and you get angry
Yeah,
or you
forget
get
it.
frustrated. And it's like, but had you addressed now, I mean, it might be a bad example because had you addressed it, it might not be the same server or whatever. But
Yeah,
like customers don't
to your
always
point.
bring up the issues. But if you ask, and I've had a million customers go, let me ask the team. And they come back, well, the team said this. I'm like, okay, perfect. They're like, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I'm like, no, listen, like
Yeah.
it's not bugging them to the point where they have to speak up, but it's something that's just kind of putting at
Communication's
the back.
key. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And, and here's the thing. So think of it in today's market, right, DJ? So in today's market, more customers are being let down because people say they have capacity than they don't.
yeah,
One of the big things that everybody's talking about when it comes to sales now is saying, hey, um, you know, just curious to see if your freight's been stranded. We help people under stranded freight. So imagine this: over the last 8-10 months, you've helped 10 customers with
Yeah.
stranded freight. What if you got each of them to write you a reference letter about stranded
Okay.
freight? And the next person says, yeah, brokers always leave my freight stranded. Oh, okay. Well, here, look, what's your email? And you send them 10 reference letters. Read as many as you want. That's what
Yeah.
I specialize in. I leave no freight behind,
Bingo.
and you think about that for a second. Just that move, what it will buy you in
Oh yeah.
credibility. Like, we affirmation for both parties, reference letter. It's pretty much call me, recommendations. It's saying, it's saying your freight's being left behind or your person does, get a hold of Jeff, get a hold of, Jessica, get a hold of Dan. Because
Yeah.
my freight was left behind and I called them and they took care of it. Like that alone will
That's
get you dozens of customers over the next 60 days.
yeah.
Dozens, because
Uh,
everybody's freight's being left behind. Everybody,
easily.
like you
And
talk,
and
you
all it
had
takes
Dean
is
last week. Go, sorry.
I was gonna say all it takes is talking to your customers that you should already be talking with. You
Mhm.
have a relationship with, just making it deeper and really understanding what you like Dan said, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and what you could
Mhm.
fix. And
Mhm.
it's
And
huge.
getting specific.
Yeah. Very specific.
And I mean, I don't know. To me, it's just kind of hit me with that whole leaving freight stranded thing because it's huge now.
Oh,
It's
that's a
huge in
huge,
our
yeah.
industry now, right?
That's a huge one to go. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, and it's finding the trends. I mean, that is the trend right now.
Mhm.
Unfortunately,
Or even niche. Like if
because
you
of
have
the
a
landscape.
specific niche,
Yeah.
you get reference letters based on your niche.
Yep.
And even I would even go so far as to say, okay, if you're sending a cold email, try adding a reference letter. Maybe, maybe even better, maybe add a quote from the reference letter and then the customer name and the company as like kind of like
Exactly.
a
Like,
testimonial
like
inside
they
your
were.
intro email,
Yep.
right?
It's a great idea.
Actually, I'm
Yeah.
going to try that now that I think about it. I'm going to,
That's a
yeah,
great idea. But I mean, it's just
yeah.
like what you see on. Well, you have some of that on the Dan Deegan on your website for Inception and the trainings and all that.
100%. Well, but I
Little.
mean, and that's so again,
Thing.
that is what sells.
Yeah.
It really is. And here's the thing is DJ, you and I talk a lot about it. But when we, you go to a seminar, for example, right?
Mm.
And it's like, okay, when I first started going to seminars, it was, okay, what are they going to try and sell me? Like I'd
Yeah.
love to go and learn, but they're going to try and sell me something.
They're gonna sell me a bunch of
Okay.
shit at the end.
But
Yeah.
if you learn something and you want to learn more, you would be pissed off if they didn't try and sell you something. So of
Exactly.
course.
Yeah.
So for reference letters, for testimonials, for all of this stuff, like I could say that Inception's the best program since sliced bread. Most people say, okay, yeah, whatever. But if other salespeople are generating $1 million plus GP and started at $5,000 a month and now are doing over $85,000 a month, and they say, oh my God, you should have seen this transformation. They're going to believe that more than anything because that's
Exactly.
reality. To me, it's
Yeah.
it's Dan spitting out bullshit about a sales course. Well, to your customers right now, because so many friggin' brokers have let them down, you're spitting bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh
just
yeah.
what it is. Like now more than ever, these reference letters are so important about your niche, about specifics that you've helped customers with, like just about all of it. It's more important, I believe, anyways, it's more important now than ever. Because if you don't have somebody in your corner saying, hey, this person does this really well. If you're looking for this, and if this is your problem, this person is your solution. This person and their team are your solution. I think you're missing the boat. Huge, DJ.
I
Huge missing the boat.
I agree
Like,
100%. I want to ask you something. So reviews. So anytime I'm buying anything, especially if it's something I'm unfamiliar with, I check reviews like crazy. Now let
mhm.
me ask you, do you so I this is just me, and that's why I want to know. And anybody else out there, anybody else listening, I want your opinion too. But when you're reading those reviews, do you look at the bad ones and read them, or do you look at all the good ones and read them?
I read
And
them all.
how do you compare the two? Because the way I do it, if there's enough good reviews, I'll see what the bad says, and if it sounds really, I'll read maybe one or two. If they sound like just somebody bitching for no reason, I disregard them. But if it sounds legit, it sounds like there's an issue with it, then I start to dig a little bit deeper, and I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
So About 6 years ago, one of my mentors said,
Oh,
when I read a book on something, I read 5 books before I make up my mind. And I went,
uh,
really? He says, yeah. He says, so if
wow.
I read a book on psychology, I'll read 5 different books on psychology and I'll form my own theory based on those 5 books. I
Okay.
said, okay. He says, never take the one just as is. So I will read 5 good ones and 5 bad ones. So I read a minimum of 10 on every, don't get me wrong. A lot of the things I buy, I don't even get reviews. I
Yeah.
look, okay, yeah, I want it because again, part of me is like, if I can just return it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, and it's like the post office is literally like a 6 minute walk. I can take
Yeah.
now I got to speak in code. I can take the DOGSs for WALK because they're in my
Yeah.
office
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
So
Yoko.
we'd have 2 of them going, hey, what did you say? But it's so I could do that and just return it. And for me, that's fine. I would rather have it here tomorrow, not waste my time, check it out and do it.
Check it out.
A
See,
lot of
yeah.
the stuff that I have here is like that. Now, when it comes to things like I bought my son and I communicators for our snowmobiles this year. I did a lot of research on that, mainly because I said I'd rather do 2 days research than order it, don't like it because we couldn't ride yet.
Yeah.
Wait till we ride, then return it, then not have it for a week because you're returning plus you're buying. Da, da, da. So I
And
said,
then you're
so there's
waiting.
certain parameters that I'll work under, but I I read a minimum of 10.
Okay.
And sometimes there's not 10,
Yeah.
but here's the thing: is all the bad ones. Um, I look for similarities. So like if
Yeah.
there's 3
Okay.
bad ones that say, it was cheap product, it
Yeah.
looks cheap,
Yeah.
or it
Well.
feels cheap. I look at it and I say, okay, do I need to worry about how it feels? Right? Like I've got my camera here is held on this the swing arm thing, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the reviews were like it feels cheap. I'm like, okay, but I'm not touching it, and it's holding a webcam. Like if it was holding a DSLR or something, maybe I'd worry about it. But it was 12
Maybe.
bucks, so I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, no big deal. I'm not going to worry about it being looking cheap. Nobody sees it but me, and it holds like a 6-ounce webcam. No big deal. Now
Yeah.
the one above is a lot sturdier because it holds my DSLR sometimes. So I want something more. You know what I'm saying? So those are
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
parameters that I'll work under. But I always read reviews now.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh
Like
yeah.
again, for
I love
specific things. Like a lot of the times I'll do research on YouTube and stuff and I'll just do research. And
Yeah.
if the research I've done, if I'm comfortable with the research, then I'll just order it without a review. But I feel like if I've done the research, and that's like people
Yeah.
unboxing and doing reviews with
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
versus B and
Exactly.
all that, right?
Yep.
But when it comes to like strategy, personal and professional growth, I'll typically, before I come to my own conclusion on something, I'll read a minimum of 5 books on it because I feel it gives you a well-rounded view,
Definitely.
right?
Definitely.
Like,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, on a lot of books, I'll pull 1 or 2 strategies out before I read 5, and I'll test them 100%. But
Yeah.
again, I'll test. I
Yeah.
won't just all of a sudden like, and you've heard me say it many times. I've got something really cool to come down the pipe, but I want to finish testing it,
Yeah. I want
right?
to
Like
test
I
it.
want to I want to try and break it a million different ways before I say, hey, here's a
This
really
one.
cool strategy, because the last thing I want is somebody to utilize it thinking it's a cool strategy and wasting 6 months of their time because it doesn't work, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
Um,
absolutely. And that's yeah. I think you're so right. And Jeff said all. I
just
believe
as
that.
all, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, sometimes you just want to,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
You
I
need to
mean,
know. And again, it
hey,
depends on
especially
the
if it's a big purchase,
exactly. It
right? Like if
depends
it's
on
a
the
big
purpose. Yeah.
purchase, like I remember buying my car. Like when in 2016 I bought the first run of the Fusion Energies electric vehicles,
Okay.
and it's like a hybrid electric, so it's a plug-in hybrid. And I remember I was like, I did all this research, but it was the first run, right?
Mm-hmm.
And within like 6 months, my dash has separated from the actual console. Like the dash lifted like 6 inches.
What?
My seat cushion like went down where it's literally like every bump you're hitting the springs and all the heated wire in the seat. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
so uncomfortable. I brought it back to Ford and they're like, oh yeah, it was the first run. And I'm like, okay. And it was actually my first experience with a first run. So now when I went out and ordered my electric Lightning, my
Yeah.
F-150 Lightning, my salesperson called me and said, okay. And I said, no, push it off. I want the second run.
Second
I don't.
run, yeah,
I'm not interested in the first run. He goes, you know what? Good call. Because the first runs
yeah.
we always have problems, and they work out the kinks,
They're
right? It's
always,
like any operating system. Like when they deliver a new OS or a new operating system for
oh yeah, there's
PC or
always going to
whatever.
be bugs. I mean, you
Yeah,
got,
there's always 80% because there's always a friggin' update. 2 weeks from now, oh, it drains the battery life. Especially on these things, you get updates all the time. Oh,
all the
battery
time,
life drain, or this bug fix, or that bug fix, right?
all
So
the time.
I don't do first runs anymore,
Yeah,
and it's. But before I do, like I did, close to 6 months worth of research before I even ordered the car, like just on fuel, like so. Because I had a Charger SRT at that time, and so I would monitor fuel, my kilometers, the price of gas, and every time I filled up, and I had a 300 line spreadsheet after 6 months with like
yeah,
my
trying to
average
figure it out.
fuel consumption, and I did all the math. And like the first year I owned my Fusion, I made $12,000 because I
Oh
got
wow,
8 grand back from the government for buying an
yeah,
electric car, and I saved $4,000 on fuel. I made $12,000 in the first 12 months of having the car. It paid for the first year and a half of the car payments,
yeah.
right? It was like,
There you go.
okay, then I have 2.5 years left. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, and then you're
Yeah,
doing the math. You're like, oh man, this works out to be great. But that's where the reviews I couldn't read,
yeah.
right? Because the
Just
vehicle
for,
wasn't
yeah,
out
there,
yet. So it was like,
exactly.
okay,
First run,
at certain times you got to kind of make a decision and go with it.
judgment call.
Yeah,
Yeah,
judgment, very good. Yeah, very, yeah, absolutely, judgment call, right?
yeah. No,
But that intro email with testimonials, um, for all y'all watching, listen, I'm going to test it, and you know what? We'll come back in a couple of weeks and let you know what we did here, because
yes,
I think that's yeah.
I think
So
that's a great idea.
I know we have a couple more quotes to lead us out for today, brother.
Yes, sir. So we got a couple quotes again, guys. No, this is low scale today. It's Monday, President's Day. We do have a good week coming up. Let me look at this calendar because I swear we got it full. Looks like tomorrow we got a guest, possibly, and then we're gonna have a fill-in on Dean Data Day. So guys, don't miss it Wednesday. We do have somebody else coming in to step in, and then. Friday. We got a great show. We got a great week, man. I'm looking
That's
at this like,
great.
holy
Actually, I
cow.
just pulled it up too. I'm like,
Yeah,
holy
yeah.
shit, we do have a great
So,
week this
hey
week.
guys,
That's great.
again, like and subscribe us down below. Don't forget our sponsor, Daman over at American Logistics and Centurion Trucking. If you guys are guys looking for a new home, new brokers, looking for Canadian brokers, again, he's only looking Canadian right now. But yeah, if you guys are looking for a new home, somebody who treats you right,
Hmm.
Damon's your guy.
And if you got any freight down in Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and look and go back to BC, Centurion Trucking's your guy. Just call them up and tell them you heard about them on Sales Chatter podcast, and they'll fix you up. Also, so I just want to bring something to everybody's attention, because I think it's important to us that we help our community as much as possible. On
Yes.
Wednesdays, what we are going to do is we are actually going to collect and share data for things you need. So if there's any of you out there that are trying to
I'm
close a
glad you
customer
brought
in a
that up.
specific region that does freight to another region, DM DJ or I with the details. Like they're shipping out of this area to this area. Kind of what's the past, what's the present, what do we see as the future, and then we'll actually bring it to air on Data Day Wednesday. We'll share some graphs and charts with you, so you can actually go back to your customers or your prospects, give it to them, and say, "Here's some research I've done on your lanes and kind of what's to come." We've been doing it now for actually we've only been doing it for about 3 weeks now, DJ,
Yeah,
and we've
yeah.
had listeners and students of Inception close some serious deals
Oh yeah.
because of the data. Just because the customer's like, wow, like you've gone and done that. So if there's any places you're having challenges with, or is there any places you feel that if we had
Yeah,
an hour to get a conversation going about sales strategy and data that would work for you, let us know, because Wednesday's coming quick. We'll bring it up, and it'll be a first come, first serve. So, but DM us.
absolutely.
And if you're going to be live, we'll talk to you. And if there's, I think we realized based on the 5 lanes last week that we can do 3 lanes,
Three, yeah,
probably
we're gonna do
max.
three. I think we're gonna try three max right now. So yeah, 3 lanes, guys. If you have any issues with anything, please let us know. But again, these are all recorded. They will be on our YouTube channel, Sales Chatter
Mhm.
Live. Also, we do have a page, so go over on LinkedIn and like that. Up until then, you just follow me or Dan if you want to check us out live. And leave us with a quote from George Washington, which I think goes really well with kind of the topic for today. But associate yourself with men of good quality if you esteem your own reputation. For 'tis better to be alone than to be in bad company.
That's a good one.
Happy
President's Day, everybody, and happy Family Day for all y'all in Ontario, and whatever other Canadian holidays there is today.
I love it.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.